Our first paper will be from Grace G. Sun Kim. The title will be Land, People, and Religion, the Role of Religion in Settler Colonialism, as well as Resistance. Grace is a professor of theology at Earlham School of Religion. She is the author or editor of 22 books, most recently Invisible, Spirit Life, and Reimagining Spirit. She is the host of Maidrand podcast, which is sponsored by the Christian Century. She blogs on her Substack, Loving Life, and has written for Huffington Post, The Nation, Sojourners, and Time. Grace is an ordained PCUSA minister. She enjoys being a guest preacher on most Sundays. Grace, we're happy to have you with us, and I was hoping that our country would have been more hospitable. I'm sorry you broke your leg in your time here. We wish you definitely a speedy recovery, but I'm sure this will be a memorable visit and you will have many stories to tell, not least about the conference, but about other things.
We need the story.
We're never going to say break a leg again.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the invitation. Do you want to press on? Oh, okay. Now you can hear me. It's so wonderful to be here. I've tried to come here several times and it didn't work out. Either the last time with the COVID, and then, so a week before my trip, I was speaking in Virginia, then I had to go to Chicago, and then I came here. And I kept saying to myself, nothing must happen to me or anything else because I have to come to Bethlehem. So once I was very careful, flying around safe, and I came. And then the next day, I was so excited that I fell in the hotel. So I thought I didn't break anything, but yesterday I went to the hospital and I did break the kneecap. So it's exciting to be here. Some of you don't know I live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. So it's so good to be in the real Bethlehem now. So thank you, Dr. Mitri, for having me. It's so exciting to be in the real Bethlehem because every time in America I tell them I live in Bethlehem, they think I've traveled all this distance to go and speak somewhere. But anyway, it's only Pennsylvania. So it's great to be here. I think I have PowerPoint, so I'll just go over the PowerPoints once they go up on the screen. So the title for mine is Post-Colonialism, Hybridity, and Resistance, Working Towards a Hybrid Theology. So I'll end with hybrid theology. It's something that I've been working on for a long time, and then coming here, I was kind of just forced to put it together. So it's kind of something in the making. So when we think about, which button?
The right side. Push the right button.
None of us know what the right button is.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, push.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm going to go over what colonialism, and I think many people have already gone over it, so just going a brief kind of overview and then going into what post-colonialism is. So colonialism, we know, has had devastating consequences on so many people around the globe. And I think until I really came here, it really didn't hit me because I am, I was born in Korea, grew up in Canada, and then now I teach in the US. So I am on the other side of this, but have been writing on this material for many years. But coming here, and yesterday, the opening ceremony, hearing the people, the music, and especially the dance was very powerful for me to see what is really happening under colonialism. I've talked about it, I've written about it, but to really see, with my eyes and experience it is a different level. But it has devastating consequences. And we know many parts of the world have been colonized or are colonized at this point. When I just talk about my own country, Korea, we have been colonized most recently by Japan, and the consequences are very high. my grandmother, she was a young child, and during that occupation, they weren't really allowed to speak Korean. They were all given Japanese names, and there were other devastating effects. Kidnapping of young girls, especially during the war, where many of these young girls who were kidnapped or under the promises of working in a factory were taken to different parts of Asia to work as comfort women by the Japanese. And I can give a whole talk on the consequences of comfort women. So the colonialism, we know it affects us. So when we're talking about colonialism and trying to overcome some of these difficulties with, scholars have used the term post-colonial as a coined term to describe the modern history of imperialism beginning with the process of colonialism. So I'm sure we've already had paper talks on what post-colonialism is. And that's important when we're doing even religious study. I do a lot of other work on climate change and climate justice. And I know here in Bethlehem there is the Ecumenical Earth Center or something. It's EEC. And Simon works there as a director, and then Michelle Farhoud, who I know through the work with World Council of Churches. But when I do climate justice work, one time I took my son to a march in New York, and I was telling him, hurry up and get ready. And he said, why? And I said, well, we gotta go. And he asked the question, what does religion have to do with climate change? And people may ask the same question, what has religion got to do with colonialism? The thing is, religion is connected with almost everything. There is the intersectionality. And one of my books is called Intersectional Theology, so you can kind of read it to kind of understand how these issues of colonialism, climate change, gender justice, racial justice is all intertwined. And we see this here in Bethlehem with the water injustice, with the racial injustice, and gender injustice and colonialism happening, post-colonialism and colonization. So I think keeping in mind the devastating effects and how religion is all part of this. And if you were at yesterday's worship when Dr. Mitri was talking about the word Jerusalem and how we kind of need to coexist, and we find it so difficult to coexist, and we see this happening under colonialism. So post-colonial theory offers a space for the once colonized and the descendants of those once subjugated and resurrection of the marginal, the indigenous and the subaltern. So these are the terms that we kind of cover. And when we think about religion, I think many of us are Christians in the room, but we may have different religions. What religion does is it provides this way of looking at the world, of how we interact and how we act. And that's why it becomes a little difficult. Because when religion is there to help us, rather it creates an us and them by pitting one religious group against another religious group. And we see this happening here and in Canada, in different parts, in the US, and around the world. So I think when we're doing this, the theme of the land and the people, the culture, we realize the big impact religion has. So religion itself is causing divisions and colonialism. When we think about what happened in China, in Korea too, we know a lot of it had to do with religion. So Christianity and other religions intentionally or unintentionally build walls to divide individuals and groups of people. And we see this all throughout Christian history. One of my forthcoming books, I've kind of mentioned it to people, some of you are in the room. I first called it whiteness because, and then Miguel here said everybody's writing on whiteness. So it is true now, everybody, at least in the US, we're writing on whiteness. But then the publisher changed it to when God became white. So this is problematic. When religion itself, or Christianity itself, changes to help the colonizer, help the dominant, and help the empire. So religion itself has been used to oppress so many people. Christians have been saying the Nicene Creed for over 1,600 years and have been creating worship services, for example, out of the Common Book of Prayer for almost 500 years. The church does not make change frequently or easily, okay? Everybody's laughing because we understand this. And as people want to maintain its purity and sanctity. So I'm a theologian. Miguel sometimes is a theologian, I don't know. And then I don't know the rest of the panel. I just realized I know Jennifer too. She reminded me that I know her. But wherever we are, people criticize either myself or someone like Miguel saying what we do as a theologian doesn't sound like theology because it's not the white European theology. Everybody wants it pure. But there is no sense of purity, and we need to kind of keep that in our mind when we're doing religion, colonialism, and studying about the land and the people. Religion plays a major role in the colonialism of Native peoples and the oppression of people of color. This happens throughout the world, not just here in America, in Canada, and all the different continents. In Christian understanding, we also have manifest destiny. What happened in the US is white European Christians, because they believed in manifest destiny, they took over the land and killed the Native Americans. Manifest destiny is a concept that white Americans were ordained to settle in North America. It's also the belief that white American culture and racial superiority gave them power over Native Americans. So we see devastating consequences. When manifest destiny happened in North America, 98% of the Native American population was wiped out. That's just devastating part of history that we don't want to remember. And we know what is happening here in Bethlehem and in also different parts of the world. So when I think about religion and post-colonialism, colonialism, and what is happening, the word hybridity is very often used in post-colonial studies, and I find as a theologian it's very helpful. So the quick understanding the hybrid, coming together of two terms, two ideas. It happens in science, the hybrid tomato or whatever people are putting together. So this hybridity kind of becomes a helpful tool for us that, it frees us and helps us reimagine humanity and illustrates that the differences that separate us may actually bring us together. It shifts the conceptualization of identity from physiology to genealogy and history so that race is not a stable point. Hybridity is a natural course of action that occurs within humanity and also in nature. So just to skip a few slides, I just want to get into the hybrid theology aspect. So when I think about hybrid theology, it offers a space to articulate and communicate where no other sites seem to offer. It offers a site for creativity and empowerment where the disenfranchised people can speak and articulate. When I think about Jesus, Jesus himself is hybrid. So we think of this hybrid understanding of Jesus, and when we think about theology, the study of God, and how theology impacts how we view each other, how we treat nature and the earth and how we treat those who are so different from us, then I think that the understanding of hybridity, that Jesus himself is hybrid, however way you want to think about hybridity, that he's man and spirit, or whichever hybrid understanding. This hybrid theology is helpful because it makes us recognize that there is really no pure theology. We cannot accept this white male European theology to help us understand what is happening in our present context. We need different voices. The different voices that are sitting here on the panel, the voices that are here in this auditorium, to make it a hybrid theology. The decolonizing practices are accompanied by a willingness to embrace and confront indigenous religious and cultural worldviews. Hybrid theology needs to accomplish, as it is seriously the colonial past, and tries to work for justice for a post-colonial future. Hybridity then becomes a form of resistance, okay? Because it really goes against this dualistic understanding, a hierarchical construction of cultures, which happens throughout the globe, and used to claim the superiority of colonizing cultures, and shows that cultures grow and are dependent on borrowing. So just to sum up and to end, hybrid theology is a mixing of two things as it tries to bring together and fuses and tries and also maintains separation. So it's not just a melting pot. It is a coming together of maybe two religions or two cultures or two societies. Even though you are in between, you are still mixing in these cultures to live in a totally new culture. You can form new cultures, new ways of being. Hybrid theology also looks at the two societies, one Eastern or the other Western, or however way you want to understand the world. There are various differences in the values of beliefs, philosophies between two societies or multiple societies. It is really being open and also coming together, because we need to live together and coexist with one another, whether it be different religions, different cultures, the land,